Recording. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, citizens of Oxford and the rest of the world. We are Media Maniaxe, and I am here with Talon Riddell and Russell Courier. Let's throw it over to them right now.
Hello, Oxford, and welcome to Media Maniaxe, where we review everything.
We're just crazy enough to do it.
All right. First thing we're going to be talking about today is a review of the
Deals with this.
Deals with this guy right here. Yeah,
This very important
piece of equipment right here. Yes.
This is a very, it's not plugged in, but this is a very important type of microphone. And often used in voiceover, which goes into our topic.
I know that voice.
Which is an amazing documentary about voice actors.
And how they don't get as much credit and as much as they should. Well, it first starts off with a Pulp Fiction reference, which you...
Oh, I heard the first words and I was like...
They show tight shots on like the microphone and all through the sound booths, and you hear the path of the righteous man is beset on all counts, and it's going through the whole Samuel L. Jackson line from Pulp Fiction. I knew you. I watched this movie before this documentary before.
Pulp Fiction again 2 nights ago,
and I forgot that was at the beginning, and then I told Talon that we should do this review, and I watched that. I'm like, oh, Talon's gonna have a Tarantino fit or something like that.
I almost had a fit. I was watching it with my friend, and I was just like, that.
That's all you had to do.
That's all I had to do.
Anyway, this movie, it starts off with John DiMaggio. If you don't know who that is, he's the voice of Bender on Futurama.
Among a million other things.
Jake on the Adventure Time show and everything. Great voice actor. Also, I enjoyed his version of the Joker in the movie Batman Under the Red Hood. If you haven't seen that, it's...
He's also done video game work. He was Marcus in
Gears of War. Yeah, and they actually show him in the production of the shows
Gears of War 3,
Gears of War, and that's the thing that's really cool. It shows all these actors, these voice actors, doing their everyday work, just showing what really goes on in the sound booth. Yeah. And they show people like Seth Green because of Robot Chicken, how he does his voice, and also Family Guy.
Yep.
Because
Matt Groening from Simpsons and Futurama.
Yeah. They who else do they have in this movie? They had Kevin Conroy, of course, the voice of Batman. He will be, no matter what Kevin Conroy does, he will always be known as the voice of Batman. And also Jim Cummings, who's known as the voice of Winnie the Pooh, and it just blew me away when I'm watching this movie. You see him there, and then all of a sudden he goes into his Winnie the Pooh voice, and it's just like, that doesn't seem right.
This movie, it's so awesome because it's just a documentary with a million different interviews.
Yes.
And these people are talking, and you're like, okay, this person's talking. And all of a sudden they switch into a voice, and you're like, that's Jimmy Neutron, or
that's Johnny Bravo, or that's Porky Pig. And
that's
you just go through
Incredible Hulk. That's this character, and you just like the nostalgia kicks in. And you're like, and then you realize, wow, it's true. These people don't get the credit.
Yeah, but the reason why they don't get the credit is because
you don't see the face.
Exactly. But here's the thing: they even talk about it in this movie. The good part of that. Yeah, normal actors, they go down the street and they get surrounded by paparazzi and everything. Yeah. Whereas a voice actor has that Superman Clark Kent thing. They go into the booth, they become the superhero.
Yeah,
they leave the booth.
Tom Hanks' brother was talking about
that. And that was one thing I found out. He did all the voices of all the Woody dolls or whatever, all those things, and in the video games too. It was him. It wasn't Tom Hanks. It was his brother the whole time. And I'm looking at it. He looks like, seriously, his brother looks like if Tom Hanks and J.K. Simmons had a kid.
And a little bit more bald. Just a little bit more.
Just a little bit more bald. But I love how it goes back into even the Mel Blanc days and talking about how everything about Looney Tunes.
How he did all the Looney Tunes characters.
And how he
revolutionized the way that it was done.
And how he also was doing voice acting from his bed because he got in a car accident, was in a coma.
And the only thing that woke him up was
someone
doing a Bugs impression. Or talking to him saying, hey Bugs, you in there? He's like, yeah, I'm in there.
He's like, yeah, what the fuck? And it's like, it brought him out of the coma. And he had broken every bone in his body, so they had them come in and like, well, not virtually every bone in his body. It was just, and there's pictures of him sitting there reading off scripts and everything with everyone around, and it just really brought to my attention that these people should get paid a lot more.
They probably do get paid a lot. It's
They
just don't
probably
get the
do.
recognition.
Yeah.
I'm assuming John DiMaggio probably makes a lot of money.
That's part of the part of the reason why John DiMaggio wanted to put this together is because they didn't get their recognition.
Yeah.
So that's where he brought everyone else in and everything, and so and put all this great documentary together. And
Yeah, it's very informative, and we wanted to do this documentary because we realized we've done almost every single type of genre, but not documentary. So we were like, he suggested this one. I was like, let's do it. And it really is informative. It's interesting. It opens your eyes like a really good documentary should. It
Yes.
really opens your mind.
And they talk about how when they have a character in front of them on the page, they have to figure out what the voice is going to be. And I never even thought of how they come up with a voice for a character like that.
Yeah, like there was this one actress that was doing a voice. Oh, I'm a kid, but what if I'm a kid that has a little bit of a lisp, or a kid that has a little bit of a lisp that is a lot more confident than a kid that's shy, and then the voice changes as she talks.
Yeah, and are you talking about the woman who plays the voice of Tommy on Rugrats?
I can't remember.
Well, they talk. She was on there, and she was talking about something similar, because she was like, if you look at, she had a doll of Tommy from Rugrats next to her, and she said, look how his lips are and everything. He kind of had this kind of, and so she talked in that lisp and everything because of that. So it's like you have to look out for stuff. Does he have buck teeth? Should he be talking like this the whole time or something like that? That's where you have to go in with it and just have that depth in there. It doesn't matter, and they even say it doesn't matter if you can do a voice for, if you can do a good impression, is if you can, as they said, if you can recite Shakespeare in that voice
Or anything.
or any, it could do,
If you could do the Pulp Fiction Ezekiel 45:17,
yes.
Then in and then voice, then you're on a good start.
Yeah.
And they said, and like they talked about like interpreting someone else's thing, like they were referencing Mark Hamill's Joker.
Yes.
A lot, and saying
and
then like how his Joker is different than this guy's Joker, and that Joker is different than that Joker.
It's because it's their own personality they're throwing into each character, and they're creating a personality for that character. Whereas Mark Hamill, of course, being the big nerd, he knew that this was traditional Joker, so he went maniacal, but he also knew like there's many different emotions with this character. So he was like, how would he be if he's angry? How would he be when he's happy, when he's sad? How is he going to be when he's singing? It's like thinking of all this type of stuff. And there was kind of a banter between him and another guy who played the voice of Joker, and going back and forth, where it's like mine's better, but they're just playing around
Talk about the camaraderie of the industry and talk about how this industry is a lot more friendly.
Yes.
And that if example, if I was a voice actor and I went in and I didn't think I was good enough for the part, I'd recommend a friend or someone saying, it'd be really good for this guy, call him. And that's the industry, because they don't have that fame, they don't have that recognition, and it's a lot more friendly there, they said, because it's more of a family aspect, because it's more of a close-knit group.
Yeah, and it's sad also because when they're done with all the voice acting and everything, and when it goes into production with the writing and everything, it's like they joke, but they're also kind of being serious. They're fired every single show and everything.
Well, they're fired every single day is the joke, was what they said, because they're like, you never know, are they going to call me back, or are they going to get someone else to replace me?
But yeah, on top of all this though, I just saw it on Netflix one day, and I was just like, oh, what's this movie? And I click on it, and I was just amazed.
Yeah.
And I almost wanted to get into voice acting, because I can do voices and stuff like that too.
Yeah, it makes you like want to try it.
Yeah, and
Instantly after the movie, I started doing accents, really bad ones.
Well, one of my best ones is, we'll be right back with the Joker and Mr. Talon Riddell on this episode of Media Maniaxe, where we're going to talk about our top 5 actors. So don't go away.
Stay tuned.
Gear up for the Michigan Renaissance Festival with free tickets courtesy of OCTV. Just send us a stamped self-addressed envelope along with the name of the show that you saw this promo on, and we will return 4 tickets for the 2015 Renaissance Festival.
Welcome back to Media Maniaxe. We are here with psychedelic rock and heavy metal. Let's throw right back to them.
So I'm assuming I'm psychedelic rock because Pink Floyd.
Motorhead. I don't know I wouldn't consider them heavy metal in my mind. I think they'd be more like hard rock.
Hard rock.
Yeah, they kind of like made hard rock what it was back then. But
It's like speed hard rock. That's how I think of it with Motorhead. But I'm a big Lemmy fan, all that. Anyway, now we're going to be talking about our top 5 actors in movies. And
yeah, we thought we'd go from voice actors to actors.
And well, actually, even though they're considered voice actors, they're still actors.
They're still actors.
Because one thing we didn't talk about in the last segment is that they put more effort into their acting. Well, they're just as much acting as these actors and
so
everything.
Instead of being able to sell it with your face, you have to sell every single part of it with your voice, and it's still acting.
Yes. Okay. Now we're in our to regular screen actors, and since I said my number 5 first on the last episode, how about you say your number 5 first?
Number 5, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay. Yeah.
And this works like I just on this list I had to make it the actors that if I see their name I go to see the movie. The ones that it's not only that but also that they have the talent. There was a lot of actors that I wanted to put on here, but I couldn't put them all. But Leo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
And like all of these great movies. And Django, Tarantino.
And that was one thing I really liked about Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie, Django Unchained, was because
so different than whatever.
He's usually playing either like not always the nice guy, usually character. He did kind of play a bad guy. Yeah, he was charismatic character, just playing that southerner type plantation owner. I was just like, this is not how Leo works usually.
Yeah, exactly.
And
okay, what's your number 5?
My number 5, Jack Black, just because I've always loved his movies, especially for School of Rock, but also because I like after School of Rock I got into middle school and then I found out he was in a band before that called Tenacious D, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. But also I found out he did some voice acting too. Shark Tale with Will Smith. He played the voice of Lenny the Shark.
Oh yeah.
I had to listen closely. Like, that doesn't sound like Jack Black with that high nasally voice, kind of like, yeah, hey, Pop, I'm a dolphin. You know, it's like you couldn't really tell that was Jack Black. And so
very versatile. Very versatile, like Shallow Hal all the way to Bernie.
Yes. So, all right, what's your number 4?
Number 4, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, Jennifer. Oh, yeah.
Well, I went with actors and actresses because it's the same profession. You don't want to split it via sex. So, number 4 is Jennifer Lawrence because she's the one of those women that like if I see her name, I'm like that movie's gonna be good, and it's gonna be good because she's in it. Like even though I don't really appreciate the Hunger Games movies, I read the books and they were okay. The first one was good. Second and third one, they're like, eh.
She did a good job in X-Men
Days of Future. Her portrayal of the character is done really well, and then she does X-Men First Class.
And
but then she
Days
also
of Future
does movies
Past
like Silver Linings Playbook, where the minuteness of her character is just amazing.
One movie I want to see with her in it was The House at the End of the Street. Even though I haven't heard much about it, still her as a female lead in a horror movie, I would love to go see that.
And then she does that, and then she goes to movies like Silver Linings Playbook, and then the one Winter's Bone, one of her earlier movies. Such different, and then goes to like the seductress character in American Hustle, and she's able to do these different characters so well, and got the well-deserving Oscar for Silver Linings Playbook.
All right. My number 4, Jim Carrey, but it just the Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura.
Spotless Mind.
Of
Charlie
course.
Kaufman, one of the great screenwrites of all time.
But also, I think he's a good actor because of the number 23 as well. Because it takes a good man to be funny. It takes a great man to be not funny.
Yeah.
Because it was like, for a person who's naturally funny, it's hard to turn off the funny. For a person who's not very funny to turn on the funny, it's really hard. Yeah. And, number 23, he's very serious. And he's trying to make jokes in the beginning of the movie. And he's like, it's landing flat. It's like to me, that's like shows a good actor how he could just
very
switch on a dime. Yeah. So that's why Jim Carrey's my number 4. So
my number 3, Samuel L. Jackson.
Knew that was coming. I just knew.
Well, he's that very professional actor.
He's been in everything.
He's been in everything, and when you hear interviews about him from the directors, they say that he's their favorite because he shows up, knows all of his lines and everyone else's. He knows all of his cues. He knows their cues. He shows up. He knows everything he needs to know, and they don't have to tell him what to do. They can just let him loose, and they can trust him.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But then if you have some poor directing behind that, that can change.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes the director's job easier. It's like making fine-tuning versus telling them how to act it.
Okay.
So, but he's been in so many great movies, and he does great different characters.
I was
always
blown
from
away
Nick
with his
Fury.
character in Django Unchained.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just, and my sister was watching the movie. She's like, "That's Samuel L. Jackson." It's like, yeah, you can't really tell. They did so much makeup work. It's like Samuel L. Jackson in another 20 years, I think, it was how he would look in that movie. How he looks in that movie. And yes, very versatile actor in many ways. My number 3, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Good choice.
Reason why is because he started off as just kid actor, then goes into Third Rock Sun. Right? Yeah. Let me say it, you caffeine addicted junkie. He's had way too much coffee to drink this morning. Anyway, but it's also because of Looper. When I saw him in that, where he had to play like a younger version of Bruce Willis. Now, to take on that persona and everything, the makeup, of course, helped, but he just portrayed that very well. Yes.
But then he goes on and did Don Juan.
Don John.
Sorry.
I didn't watch all Don John, but then wasn't that his first directorial movie? Wasn't it?
I haven't seen it, but yes, I believe so. First directorial.
Yeah, and I've seen bits of that movie where it's just like the character he plays is kind of a jerk type character, which
very
is kind of
different than what he's used to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was part of the reason why I threw him on here, because he's one of those other versatile actors and everything. So that's why he made my number 3. What's your number 2?
Number 2, Brad Pitt.
Okay, that makes sense and everything, because Fight Club, you were talking about that last episode.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Tree of Life. Just he's one of those actors that if I see that he's in it, I'm just gonna want to see it, because I know I can trust that his performance is going to be good. It's going to be different.
I still need to see Moneyball.
And like, great example, because that's so much more subdued than a lot of his others. And then he goes to Inglourious Bastards, where he's like Guillermo, and he just like does that heavy Southern American accent.
Yeah,
the entire movie, and it's just great.
And he's trying to speak French in that accent. It's just hilarious.
Italian, yeah.
Italian. That's why. Why did I say French? I haven't seen that movie in so long. Yeah, and he's like Italian. I can't do it very well, but okay.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Robert Englund, just because I'm a big Freddy fan, but also he threw so much into that character of Freddy. He threw in a little bit of Cagney into his walk. He brought so much to that one character that it just was mind-blowing. And also, he was also into voice acting too. When we were talking about before with the character who played the Joker in that one show, he was next to him doing Riddler, I found out, and I was just like, really? The voice of Freddy was Riddler? Anyway, that Robert Englund, I just think he's a really good actor. And so what's your number 1?
Numero uno. This will shock you. I don't know why he's my favorite, but James Franco.
James Franco. I could understand.
Is probably the most interesting person on the face of the earth. He has a master's degree or a doctorate degree in poetry.
Huh, I didn't know.
And he has directed, he has written short stories and poems, but his acting is so minute differences. He can go from Pineapple Express of being a drug dealer to going into movies like Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm. Or even Oz the Great and Powerful.
Even Oz the Great and Powerful, and even all these other movies where he's a lot smaller of a role, and it's just so different. Like 127 Hours.
Yeah, very true. That's a really good movie, and that just sees how long you're by yourself for so long, you start to go a little loopy and everything, and you could see that in him.
He's just a very good actor, and he's just very interesting, and he gets really into the roles. Like when he played James Dean, he started smoking.
Oh, really? I don't know. All right. My number 1, Malcolm McDowell. Clockwork Orange we were talking about before last episode and everything.
Iconic.
Yeah, and the voice, that voice of terror in my mind. When you hear him voice over, like he even did some voiceover work. Daedalus in the movie and the video game God of War 2. And it's like just one of those voices you can just spot out. It's like and the voice that you can just pick out in any type of, like if he was in a horror movie or something, you pick it out, but it pulls you in because it's so gritty and eerie and like. So it's just something about his voice and his style of acting. It's just
And he's
really
one of those actors that has that versatility that lasts for years and years and years.
All right. Anyway, that was our top 5 actors. Come back where we review Cabin in the Woods.
Grab your friends and join us for a day of shopping and merriment. October 2nd at the Michigan Renaissance Festival. Your discount ticket includes festival admission, complimentary beverage, and a coupon book with amazing discounts from select festival artisans.
Welcome back to this edition of Media Maniaxe. We are joined here by Wario and Waluigi. Let's throw it right back to them.
Who's who?
I'm big. I'm the big guy, so I take it. I'm Wario, and you're skinny, so Waluigi. Wario was one of my favorite characters, actually. I had the little Game Boy Advance game of Wario. I love Wario Land 3, I think, and I loved it.
It's a good game.
Anyway, here's our review of the movie Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods. Title.
And
Just a big red title.
Cabin in the Woods. And that's I love how they do that. It's just like, are you even listening? And then all of a sudden, Cabin in the Woods, just right there in front.
Right in the beginning of the movie. It's great. Great way to start off a horror movie.
To be honest,
Horror movie.
well, yeah, that's another one of those genre bending.
Genre-bending movies. That's we keep on coming back to these last episodes.
But the thing, when I first saw the trailer to Cabin in the Woods, I honestly thought it was a remake of Evil Dead, because they're in the cabin that looks a lot like the one from Evil Dead. You see the trap door open for the basement, looks exactly the same.
That's the point.
And I know, but I thought they were just copying it. Turns out, and I realized when I watched the movie, they're taking homage to it. They're just, and they, not only that movie, but other movies too with, I'm not spoiling anything here, but they, in some ways they even inspire the Hellraiser franchise at one point. And you know who I'm talking about just by saying that, right?
Pins sticking.
There was a pinhead, but there was someone in the movie, kind of spoiler, who had razor blades coming out of his head, and he was holding a little puzzle box. And so it's like, well, that's not a big character, small characters. It's not, I'm not going to go into it or anything because it'll spoil a lot. But it's like it takes inspiration from a lot of different horror movies of the franchise. Where it's like this movie starts off with the basic, 5 college kids going to a cabin in the woods to have a good weekend, and they all get bumped off one by one. But here's the thing that throws it way out of left field. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's like it's more than just that.
Yeah, there's more to it than that. And that's why it's very different. So if you're a horror movie fan, you'll love it. If you're not a horror movie fan or you don't like them as much, like myself, I really like the movie because it did something with those conventions that the horror movies have, that very, I don't want to say straightforward because they're not always straightforward, but those archetypes of those characters, those 5 characters, this storyline that kind of follows the same line. And it did something completely original with it. And the reason it was because they're written by Joss Whedon.
Yes. No, we don't know who that is. Creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Firefly.
Yes. Director of the Avengers movies as well. So, and the same basic formula with horror movies. There's the jock, there's the popular girl, there's the nerd, there's the doofus, and then there's the goody girl. That's the same basic formula in every horror movie. And so usually it's like everyone gets killed off, and then this girl, she's just off. Either she suffers or she dies. And that's like, but they throw it more of like, not like a kind of a underground occult aspect to this movie. And that's what I really liked. It just took a spin, and you're just questioning the movie, like, what's really going on here?
Yeah, you're questioning it, and you're also questioning what's going to happen.
Yes.
It's one of those movies that, like, even if you know a little bit about it, you're still like, what is actually going to happen? Because the characters are developed really well, and you're questioning with them what they are going to do, especially that ending part. Which we're not going to spoil, but the ending part is like this very enigmatic sequence, and the characters have this really good moment between them, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
And they didn't even know it was going to happen, so you're right there with them. Well, they're just like, oh, they're just like, I wonder what's going to happen next, pretty much. And then,
and then something happens.
yeah, a big thing happens. Let's just leave it at that. Anyway, though, Chris Hemsworth, which it's funny, we were just talking Marvel last episode. Yeah. Now we have a Marvel actor, Chris Hemsworth, known for playing Thor, plays the jock in this movie, and it is perfect, really, in my mind. I think he works out great, and just this cast just great, in the doofus character, also the stoner characters we're saying in this movie. Really funny guy. He steals the show. Usually the comic relief, they're so good, they'll just
coffee cup. I saw that and I started dying.
Oh
laughing.
yeah, and he's just driving down the street with that thing. And it's just, oh come on, how is he not busted? Let's just leave it at that there.
Yes,
but
like a lot of other horror movies, this one's gonna be. I think it's rated R, correct?
Yes, it is.
And so it's like, once again, it's one of those movies like watch without the kids, and you got to be aware that it is a horror movie. There's going to be swearing. There's going to be
blood and gore. There's sexual content. Yes, very much so. But if you're over the age of 17 and love horror movies, as well as a good twist in the movie with all this other stuff, and just are a nostalgic horror fan, perfect. Yeah, but it's the perfect movie for you.
Me that doesn't have that that knowledge of all that stuff, you know, the basic formulas. And you still like it, and you still really appreciate the writing in it, because it is something so different from what it's supposed to be.
You look at a horror movie and you see the writing. I look at a horror movie and I see the blood and gore and the violence and the running from the serial killer. I'm a horror. It's funny. You're the one who doesn't care much for horror movies, and I'm the horror movie fanatic who almost got to see Robert Englund at Motor City Comic Con this year. But I missed my chance. And it's just funny how we're just going back and forth with this movie, because it's that like, genre bending.
Yeah, because I'm talking about the characters and the writing and all that stuff, and he's talking about how it attunes to the horror movie fan. The
and
running,
the
the screaming,
effects of this too. This movie, the effects are phenomenal, and just everything. I showed it to my mom and my sister. They didn't like it, but I just remember watching it on Netflix, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite movies. I had to watch it over again right when I was done. I had to rewind it all the way back. It's just
hit the menu button.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
There's no such thing as rewind.
Well, hey, I'm retro, dude. I'm older than you, so.
Dude, rewind died in like 2005. Be kind, rewind. Come on.
Hey, Jack Black, man.
That's why I said it. Anyways.
Yes. Anyway, though, if you really love horror movies as well as good character building, and just all around, and also good movie actor cameos in this movie, big actor cameos, and I'm not going to spoil who, but people are known for either horror or even science fiction movies. Anyway. This movie, Cabin in the Woods, I definitely give it 2 big thumbs up, because it's my favorite movie. And we're wrapping up this segment, and this is also the last segment with both Talon and Ryan, because they're going back to college.
Going back to college.
Yep. Going back to Grand Valley. Ryan's going back to MSU, and I'm here by myself. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to say thank you for everyone that's been watching the show. We would greatly appreciate everyone that tunes in every week. And
I'm glad that you were here.
Right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I'm just glad that you guys, I was so glad when Talon came to me with this idea and everything. Because I originally had an idea set up for a show, and then Talon came into the studio and just, wanted to revamp it. And then Ryan got involved too, and we changed everything. And you're funny, man. You're funny behind that camera. I try. And I love arguing with you back and forth. So, Talon, we had fun.
And hopefully
Air
I'll
handshake.
come back for guest appearances.
Yeah. All right. Now, and hopefully on the next episode of Media Maniaxe, you'll most likely see me, but introduce our new host, who I still haven't picked yet, and hopefully you'll.
Let's call it a season break. Or
season. This is our season.
Just tell them
break.
it's a mystery.
It's a mystery. We're just gonna have a question
picture
mark
of
right
a
here.
mystery box.
Yeah.
And then we'll punch it at the beginning of the next episode, or he'll punch it and then he'll say the name, and then the guy will walk up.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for joining us on Media Maniaxe. I'm Russell Courier.
And I'm Talon Rudell.
We review everything.
We're just crazy enough to do it.
That's right.
Thank you.